Kia ora, good evening. I just wanted to um, talk about my plans for the foundation. M- A lot of it is up on my X and social media, mostly on my X, because I'm trying to convince presidents and prime ministers all over the world to let me build in their country. I'm not going to give too much away, obviously, because I have enough problem with people stealing my ideas and stuff anyway. But um, I wanted to just kind of like paint you a picture of what the foundation is going to look like, because I'm going to need to buy quite a bit of land with a forest attached. And we're going to build everything there based on my books and stories. Everything there will be themed on my books and stories. Um, like for example, my cafe and bakery, which will also serve breakfasts, serve breakfasts for the people that come and stay. Sort of like if you're in the UK, if you've ever been to the Premier Inn or like you've been to Vegas and you know about the cooked breakfast, and that obviously will serve cooked breakfast in Mama Bear's Kitchen, Cafe and Bakery. Now, Mama Bear is one of my characters from With a Little Help from My Friends, but it's also my nickname. Um, I've had the name Mama Bear since like 2016. Um, so yeah, and because I cook and bake and feed everyone to death, so yeah, so Mama Bear's Kitchen, Cafe and Bakery is sort of going to look like like a bear's den. It's going to look like it's sort of like in a cave with maybe vines and bits of tree stump and all of that kind of in it. I've sort of put pictures up, sort of briefly discussing the interior of it on X, but there's also going to be Miss Mouse's tea house, which, if I can, I'd really, really like to try and make it look like a teapot, make the tea house look like a teapot. Otherwise, like a tin of tea, because the whole foundation is going to be laid out so that some things look a lot bigger than they should, because it's going to give the impression like you're um, like shrunk down in some parts. So for where the teeny tiny folk live, that's one of my stories. So obviously, it's going to look like things that have been found and left in someone's garden. We're going to have like a sort of Peter Rabbit style veggie garden where Mr. Hedgehog, the gardener, goes around, tending to all the fruits and vegetables and flowers and that, and then sell everything that we have excess that we don't need for the foundation um, food supply, to sell to the public. The public will be able to come out, come anytime. You won't need um, tickets. Like, if you're driving past, you can stop and purchase one of our picnics and have a picnic in the garden, or have a nice meal at the cafe, that sort of thing. But Miss Mouse's tea house, um, my mum used to collect teapots. She had dozens and dozens of teapots, and she used to tell this story um, about how she was. Well, she'd had a reading done that confirmed a lot of what she'd said that she knew growing up, which was that she was Jewish and died in a concentration camp, and that she owned a tea shop where the walls were like, she had different teapots hanging on the shelves, and it's she's utterly convinced that she was utterly convinced it's the reason why she had a thing for teapots, whereas my sister Paula had a thing for miniatures. So, like, having miniature things and teapots just, obviously it was going to get written into my story, but Miss Mouse's Tea House is where you're going to be able to come and have your tea leaf and coffee cup readings as well, because she'll serve like all the indigenous coffees and tea from all around the world. My son Gabriel and I, who's my food business partner for Supernatural Foods, is going to help me put like our special tea blends together, and we're going to have like really nice tea strainers in our cafe. And obviously, if you want your tea leaves read, you'll have loose tea, and then I'm going to invite readers to come and do readings for the customers and that. But I'm thinking, I'm in two minds, because there's part of me that wants to be able to like I really, when the boys and I get out of here, we want to, like travel the world for a bit, just kind of take some time off from everything that we've been through. And I really want to get some Japanese teapots, because they just make the most beautiful teapots I've ever seen. But at the same time, I kind of also like the idea of going around buying teapots from like secondhand shops and, antique stores and that, because you can get some really beautiful ones. And Miss Mouse's tea house is going to look like, as a mouse would if she was going to have a tea house, bits of furniture that she's collected. So it's not all going to be like, matching decor. What I'm going to do is I'm going to employ, hire a lot of people to come and touch up all the furniture that we reclaim, and everything that we build is going to be made from reclaimed wood. I was talking to Vladimir Putin. I messaged him on X, and I was like, because I want to build one in Russia, a foundation in Russia, and I was saying to him, like, where can I get some reclaimed wood from? Because I'm not allowed to chop any trees down to build anything. I was given strict instructions that we were never to chop any trees down to build everything, that everything has to be reclaimed. So any buildings that we build, like all the wood, everything, like we're allowed to lay the foundations and concrete and all of that. But as far as the wood is concerned, we're only allowed to build using recycled wood. So the foundation is going to look like, a massive summer garden park, with the foundation where obviously the team will be making video games, making movies, that sort of thing with the kids. All the, the departments and that will be sort of in the foundation building itself. I know what it's going to look like, but I'm not going to go into detail right now for, obvious reasons. But the stuff that I'm talking about now is obviously like I've made it public, but yeah, so people will be able to come and, like, if you've been to the Scottish Deer Park, um, there's like, an animal sanctuary there, but there's buildings there with various shops and cafes and all that you can go and sit down. Well, it's kind of going to be like that, but on a grander scale. But we'll have like, like a fruit and veggie patch, and everyone will be like in character pertaining to my books, like Miss Mouse, as she's going to look like a mouse, and Mr. Hedgehog the gardener is going to look like a hedgehog, and all that, because it's going to be based on all my stories and movies and that. So Miss Mouse's tea house is going to be all reclaimed wood. I don't know how hard it would be. I was was saying, like, Vladimir Putin's going to be listening to my conversations about teapots, but I was like, do you think it'd be hard to build a building that looked like the shape of a teapot? Or should I make it like how you can buy the tins of posh tea? Because it's got to look like, she found it in the garden and, turned it into her little business. So it's Miss Mouse's tea house, but it's Miss Mouse's brew house, because obviously she is the sister. Penelope Mouse is the sister of Calliope, who is Mary the Fairy's trainer. Like because Mary the Fairy from the Art of Creation is um, under review. She's been trained. You know how you go for your driver's license and you have your driving instructor? Well, Miss Mouse's sister Calliope is Mary the Fairy. Mary the Fairy. Mary the Fairy's fairy godmother instructor. So she sits, with her little pen and paper and writes down, everything that Mary's doing while Mary's training to be a fairy godmother. So the Mouse sisters are from an ancient um, rodent bloodline from with a little help from my friends, my story. And yeah, so one does like palm readings and tea leaf readings and coffee cup readings and tarot card readings and card readings and that, while the other one um, is like, well, she's a physicist and an alchemist mouse. So she sits on Mary's shoulder and make sure that she's putting all her magic together properly and that she's not misusing her wand. And before Mary graduates to become like a fully fledged fairy godmother, she's a fairy godmother in training. She's a hilarious character though. I love Mary the Fairy. She goes karaoke and she she hasn't lost her accent. So when she sings, she still sings with her Scottish accent, like the Proclaimers and that. So she's like, when she sings Kylie Minogue, she's like, I just can't get you out of my head. Like that. I love it. And when she's had a bit too many, she drinks sherry, but you can never let Mary have whiskey. And the whole thing of the TV show is that when the girls take Mary karaokeing, she is not to have whiskey. The whiskey gets moved from the bar, from the Alchemist Tavern, because when she drinks whiskey, she gets a bit feisty. So yeah, so she's banned from having the whiskey. So obviously we're going to have to write it in the cartoon series at some point. She has whiskey, but yes. So Miss Mouse's tea house. I don't know whether to collect teapots where I find them, because like no two chairs are probably going to be the same. Like we want to buy out random chairs, random tables, random cabinets, and that sort of thing. Random cups and saucers, and tea trays and all that kind of thing. And then obviously do the furniture up and that, and put them in, because everything's got to look like she's collected it along the way. Yeah, she's picked up a chair from this friend, and you know, Mr. Raccoon gave her a cabinet that he no longer needed, and that sort of thing. So it's got to look sort of authentic, like all the curtains and that are going to have like big stitching and all of that. So, yeah, so I've been going over every time my boys come, I bake something different and get them to try it. So she's going to have, she's going to sell like cream tea services. So you'll be able to buy, like high noon teas and that, with cakes and pastries and all of that. Whereas like the bakery, it's going to be like pies and sausage rolls and cookies and slices, and you'll be able to buy like whole cakes. Whereas with Miss Mouse, you'll be able to pick a selection on a plate and it'll be brought over, and you'll drink your tea and coffee while you're waiting to have your readings done. And then obviously once your cups are ready to be read, then you'll go into a different part and have your readings done. So I'm going over, like the kind of cakes and all of that that we want to have in Miss Mouse's tea house. Whereas, like, Mama Bear's Kitchen Cafe and Bakery is going to be, like your soups and breads, and we want to make lots of different bread. I've started branching out, practicing different. I made my first artisan loaf of bread the other day. It was a sourdough. And my son said it was really, really nice. So I'm going to be brave and try things like pumpkin bread and all of that next. So, yeah, so I'm plodding along now that I'm on a break and I don't have to deal with this holy war thing anymore, because it's all in the hands of the Lord. I'm allowed to just focus on my future now and build and like finalize the plans for the future. Because everything's about to change on a dime. Everything's about to change on a dime. I can feel the shift. There's like a paradigm shift. I can feel it. And it's like ever since the alignment yesterday of the seven. Well, they say seven, but they always leave the moon out. Poor Gerald. But yeah, Miss Mouse's tea house. I can't wait. Miss Mouse's brew house. Sorry, because witch's brew. Um, and we call cups of tea like having a brew. So yeah. I'm trying to think what else I can say without the fruit and vegetables that Mr. Hedgehog, the gardener, sells is going to be when I was growing up in New Zealand. I don't know if they still have them because they haven't been home since like 2006. Um, we used to have fruit and vegetables in an honesty box where it was like like bits of wood and corrugated iron and all of that, kind of set up like a makeshift stall at the end of your driveway. And then, you could buy, like, you'd go and get your eggs and you'd put the money in the honesty box and stuff. You probably couldn't do that now, but when I was growing up, right up until I left to come here, actually, you could still do that. Um, and so we're gonna get like scraps of wood and shelving and that, and then all the excess fruit and vegetables and herbs that we don't sell, like eggs and that we don't need and we don't sell, we can and honey we'll sell in the little makeshift kind of shabby stall, but obviously it's made to look like that on purpose because like it's not like animals are going to be able to gather anything and make it look like a metropolis, right? So yeah, so people driving past, they can come and get something to eat and get some nice fresh honey and fruits and vegetables and take them home, or they can purchase some of our food and eat it in the garden. Or like we're going to have like a little like outdoor theatre bit where the kids and guests and stuff and that will be able to come and put on little shows and plays, and if they're performing, musicians and all of that. So we're going to have like a little outdoor um, theatre bit where you'll be able to sit on the grass in the garden and eat and listen to shows or musicians or whatever, and purchase our picnic baskets, which is why I need basket weaving women. I really want to support you know um, basket weavers, especially if they're indigenous in any of the countries where I get to build a foundation. So yeah, so like our police station, because obviously we're going to have security and all of that because of the kids, and building the safe houses for the kids that we take in for human trafficking and all of that, is going to look like the old days police lanterns. You know how the police in the old days used to walk around with the lanterns. So yeah, so it's going to look like a police lantern has just been left in the garden, and like the toilets are going to look like tin cans, and you know um, if you know the borrowers or Ariete, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It's gonna be like that. Like the kids arts and crafts centre is gonna look like everything is giant. So like the arts and crafts tables will look like massive playing cards, stood up by straws. And the chairs will look like um, spools of cotton, like the spool itself, the round spool that the cotton is wound around, um, and plates will look like buttons, and things like that. You know what I mean? If you know the borrowers and you know Arietta, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. Um, where you're the little person, but there's also, you live amongst the animals. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids would be another good example of that. So it's going to look like that, other than the bit where the foundation is. So yeah, so it's just I had a dream about my mum's teapots, and yeah, I feel like my mum's with me. She's helping me make the final decision about the teapots. I know that to anybody else listening, you're going to be like, what? But I'm Māori, so how we do this is very different to how Western people handle their connection to the dead. But I had a dream about my mum's teapots, and I haven't, yeah, I haven't thought about her teapots for decades. Like, it's one of those things that I just completely put out of my head, because I think she sold them all when we moved to Australia, which was like in 1988, 89. And then I had a dream about her teapots, and I woke up thinking about Miss Mouse's brew house. And so it's like, because I know that there's been a massive shift, and I know that I'm being prepared, like it's like I'm about to be propelled into having the funding and stuff for my foundation. On the other half of the trees will be the camp part where the kids come and stay. And I really want to have like an international exchange program with all the other foundations, and all the other countries where, we'll take, like, just say hypothetically speaking, we build one in the UK, and we build one in Russia, and we build one in Hungary, and we build one in like El Salvador and New Zealand and Canada and Alaska and blah blah blah, just hypothetically. And then we'll let the UK kids like go to Russia and El Salvador and Alaska, and the El Salvadorian kids come to the UK and blah 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 for like, a couple of months, so that they can experience life in another culture. They get to fly and travel and see the world, because a lot of these kids are coming from inner cities, they're coming from foster homes, they're coming from, troubled families, they're coming from social services, they're coming from, you know, being neglected at schools and by their families, and forced on medication for being really smart and clever and misunderstood and all that sort of thing. So it's respite for them. It's a chance for them to be able to experience life and get some peace and be protected, and, be rewarded for their creativity and their inspiration, because they'll be inspirations to the children that come after them. So on the other side of the forest, yeah, will be like, their dorms. We call it a camp, but it'll be like their dorms. And then they'll stay, and obviously they'll have free roam of the foundation. They'll be able to walk around and, go from their dorms to the foundation and all of that. And obviously, because I'm going to have park rangers and security guards and all of that, most of whom are going to be law enforcement and military veterans, and that, like, our foundations are going to be the safest places on earth, because of the fact that, because we're going to have the kids that we rescue there as well, everyone will be very well protected, very well protected. But the public won't have access to the dorms. So where the kids are staying, the general public won't have access to that area. They'll only have access to the park, and, like, all the services that we provide there. And, you'll be able to come and stay. We'll have like hotel rooms and all of that built into the foundation. And yeah, it's going to be great. They'll be able to watch movies being made and video games being made, and it's, yeah, I'm just really excited. So yeah, so I had the dream about my mum's teapots, and now it's got me on this whole thing with Miss Mouse's brew house, and whether I want to collect teapots from around the world or whether I want to go, because I like the idea of getting them from charity shops and secondhand shops and antique stores, because I don't want everything matching. It would no animal that was setting up its own business in someone's back garden is going to have everything all matching unless it's like royalty or something. And none of the animals in our garden are royalty. They might be from royalty, but they're humble animals from humble animal bloodlines who just are doing their bit to keep the kids funded, basically. So um, my boys and I had this whole meeting about how we want our staff to dress for the ones that are going to look like the animals, like Aurelius Fox, who's going to be like the fire marshal, and because everything, like all our shows and movies and that, will be recorded at the foundation. Um, yeah, so like Anahita and Friends, although I don't think it is going to be Anahita and Friends, I'm probably going to give that over to one of my other characters, because I don't really want to have to do all that stuff myself. I don't want to take up jobs that can be given to other people. I want to just run the business and lend my voices to things, and do the writing and the creating and coming up with things. So, but just for now, we'll call it Anahita and Friends, where she's going to be doing the cooking and dealing with the puppets, and Aurelius Fox is the fire marshal. And there's like this kind of a secret thing between them that Doba Drexel from the Art of Creation is absolutely obsessed with finding out whether they are in love and in a relationship or not. Like, it's a whole thing, because all of my stories, all of my books and movies, and they intertwine. They're all connected. So Doba drags Pearl out to go on these investigations to see what's really going on with the host of this kids' TV show and the fire marshal. So we know exactly how we want them to dress now. They're going to be like anthropomorphic. So, but yeah, not. I mean, they will be wearing masks and they'll have fur and all of that, but they're going to dress in people clothes, and yeah, so I need really good costume designers where they can just put their masks and all of that on in their costumes, and I worry about them in the heat, but we'll figure that out by how we actually design the costumes. They should be able to breathe properly in there. I mean, be no different to how it's done like in Disneyland and that, but they'll actually have our characters will actually be able to move better. So so I'm just sitting here putting the final touches, because I've just got this feeling. I see to the boys, it's like when our feet hit the ground, we're going to be hitting the ground running. So and because obviously when I apply for visas to other countries and that, they want to know in detail what I'm spending my money on, who I'm employing, where the money's going, that sort of thing. So I need to be able to have everything in precise detail, so that when I get my immigration lawyer and all that, I can sit down and tell them, and then they can write it all out. Because I have no interest in going for citizenship anywhere. I just want like a business visa or an entrepreneur's visa. But I'm covering all the categories of like religion, science, art, education, and entertainment. So yeah, so I just thought I'd share. Get your imagination going. I see it so clearly in my head now. It's taken a long time. It's taken a long time. Years and years and years and years have gone into fine tuning the finishing touches on something that was originally just going to be like an art foundation in inner city New York with my soon to be ex husband has now turned into like an English country summer garden with an amphitheatre and forest in that where people can come and have picnics and walk around and enjoy the characters and get involved in our books and stories and movies and that, while the books and stories and movies are actually being made in the actual foundation part of the building, which has taken me 2 years to put the final touches on how I wanted the actual foundation building to look. It was originally going to be like an inner city office thing that we turned over, and then I was going to make it look like a giant box of crayons, and then I was going to make it look like a factory, because I call it the entertainment factory. Um, but now I know how I want it to look, and it's perfect, but I'm not saying anything because, yeah. Anyway, so just a bit of food for thought there, and I'll let you sit with your imagination on that one. And I will speak to you later and go and have my actual cup of tea. So I'll speak to you later. Bye.